the change that happens, whether you've consciously chose to do it or something has happened to you. It hasn't happened to you, it's happened for you. And if you can quickly change that, then again, like we said there with the stuff that happened with me, like that happened for me. Like, yes, I chose to jump and that happened for me. Like that situation, that whole thing, I genuinely believe has happened for me. And again, it's been absolutely incredible.
And just to utter something else is, have routine in your life, have structure in your life, but put yourself in uncomfortable territories when you can, and do make change happen in really small ways. So then when big change does happen, or some change that you're uncomfortable in, you're very used to change.
Welcome to the Prime Life Project podcast, a place to help you unlock your full potential, both mentally and physically, to become the best version of you. Welcome back to an episode of the Prime Life Project podcast, a place to help you both mentally and physically become the best version of you. I'm your host, Daniel James, and today I'm joined by Mr. Mikey Markham. How are we?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much. So, complete transparency. The guest I was meant to have on the other week that I said didn't quite go to plan, and then I had to do an episode by myself. Same thing happened today. However, for those of you that listened to last week's episode, that was my first time doing a podcast in this new studio setup. So again, I apologise for the echoiness. This is literally the first day that I'm recording in here. So it may be a little bit echoey. We're working on it. Like I said, next episode should be absolutely fine. So I did the episode by myself, and I was getting ready for this guest to come on. And it's the first time I've had a call in this new place, and it turns out the Wi-Fi doesn't reach, so I had to jump inside and basically have a conversation with this guest for 30 minutes. We had this conversation about the topic we're going to talk about, and basically he was absolutely fine with it. But it's kind of worked in our favour, because the conversation we're going to talk about, as you will see when the guest comes on, is incredibly deep, it's incredibly thought-provoking, and me and him having that 30-minute conversation actually has eased both of our concerns about actually having this conversation, because again, the whole point of this podcast is to just help you guys and just get you guys to think outside of normal potential parameters and just basically get things to be expanded. So I've literally just finished recording one episode. I've then had a quick outfit change. So if anyone notices, like you'd be like, well, he was wearing an orange top last week. That's because apparently I get washed out by the brick. So I've gone in and changed to another outfit. So anyway, complete transparency. The reason I'm saying that is because Mikey's jumped in last minute. He was here anyway recording. So you didn't have to hear me 2 episodes back to back. We've got Mikey here. But because of the kerfuffle, we've only got 30 minutes to record. So normally me and Mikey go at it. We can go at it for a while. So Mikey's on a time limit. So we've got 30 minutes. I've then got some calls with clients. So I just want to make sure that I actually had this episode in, because, again, I'm going on holiday and I want to make sure that I've got some good quality content in the bag. So me and Mikey just had a bit of a chat about what we want to talk about. And we kind of just want to carry on from last week's episode where we talked about like growth and how uncomfortable change can potentially be, because yes, obviously when I do the episode, I'm talking about it, I'm giving real sort of factual sort of things, but actually there's a difference between that and then 2 people actually talking about growth, if that makes sense. So it's knowing the law of growth is one thing, but then actually talking about it from our own experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, having anecdotal moments in our lives that we can refer to and say, I'm literally going through this right now. This is my experience towards it, and all the stuff that we talk about and mention, this is how I put it into practice and put it into play. So I thought I was quite inspired by your last episode and listening in, thinking how I reflect that to my life now and what I can do in this episode of change. Because I'm pretty much, well, look at us, both of us. We're going through lots of changes in life. And there is a resistance there to me. There is this feeling of, I just had it where I wanted it, this sweet spot. But I love that Buddhist quote, the only thing that constant is change. And it's so true. And having that great word acceptance towards that is key to all of this sort of contentment and happiness.
We'll have the conversation off air, literally just now, when we're talking about your festival.
Yeah.
So again, I was meant to have my mental health workshop. I then cancelled it for reasons. You then meant to have your festival, which is meant to be this week, 2 weekends, and you just cancelled that. So we literally had a conversation about this off air. Yeah. And what's interesting about that is the change and growth in you as a person.
Yeah.
In the fact of before, when you've done festivals and stuff like that, they've sold out. There's been hundreds of people there.
Yeah.
And again, the change in that is you kind of beating yourself up. But then when you've realised, well, actually, that was old Mikey, and those people were pissheads. Yeah. Actually, what I'm trying to do now, and my purpose, my mission is this. Okay, so yes, it's not quite panned out how I planned it to. So again, we learn from that, we grow and evolve. But the premise we're talking about is the change, like of where you were to where you are now, and the fact that that change is actually difficult.
And the mind's got such a powerful way of creating such fond memories and kind of fake memories of truth. Because for me, when what actually happened and when it actually sort of went down, it'd be a crazy day. So much sort of energy and effort and expenditure going into it. Had a lot of fun, yes, but it'd just be this big peak and then so much of a lull afterwards. And I forget about that because I want to look at it in this glorified, fond way. But truthfully, you know, people are going, oh, he got paid this, he got paid that, why didn't I get paid that? And then you're dealing with this sort of nullified version of it. And then, you know, people have hangovers and substances and you've abused your body.
But isn't it interesting though, you spoke about that, like, it's that whole thing of that change, that uncomfortableness of it. Like the fact that people were like so used to it.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually, it's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And like, you just like, in your head, you glorified it.
Yeah.
So in your head, like we do it with them relationships.
Yeah.
You're in a horrible relationship.
Yes.
In a horrible relationship, you know, I need to get out. You need to get out. Then as soon as you've got out,
and there's a reason you got out of it.
Absolutely. And then 4 months later, you're like, oh my god, it's the best relationship I've ever been in. It's like what? But it's like same with that. There's at that festival. Like the last time you did that festival, you probably thought to yourself, I'm never doing this again.
Mate.
And how many times have we said that? I'm never doing this again. But again, because you're then in that comfort zone, but then to actually change is hard.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it was actually that bad. And how many times? Again, I'm sure you've done this like me. You've broken up with someone for those reasons, whatever it is, or didn't quite feel right. 6 months later, you're like, no, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. You've then gone back again, and then within like a week, you're like,
that was the reason. That's
right,
why we
this
didn't
is it, because your brain's been like, we should ignore this bit of information.
Why does the brain do that? I'm trying to really reflect on that moment of really romanticizing things and looking back in such this way. And I suppose it is because you want fond memory. You want to think you've lived a certain life.
Yep.
And you're not actually congruent in the truth of the matter, because what you just said perfectly then, there's a reason you're not with that person, there's a reason you're not that same person, because you noticed something in that time that needed to change. You started evolving, but always the grass is greener. So you look back.
I think it might be also to do with self-confidence.
Yes.
Because do you know, if you are completely, because again, people do this, like they break up relationships and they are, that's it, that's done, because they're completely confident in themselves. I think it's then potentially, as you then transition through, you then start to, that bit of doubt creeps in.
Yeah.
So for example, at the time, you knew that doing your old school festivals, as amazing as they were, that it doesn't quite feel right, maybe there's all this aggro. And it's like, right, you then do this other festival, it's then not quite worked out, bam, seeded out. And then you start romanticizing it. Same like when you're, again, you break up with someone.
What was it about that made people gravitate towards it?
Yeah, because then you say you're in a relationship. It's like, well, okay, so there's all this bad stuff, but actually, at least you have that connection with someone. So then you're then single and you're like, this sucks. Yeah. This is horrible. You don't like being alone maybe, and you are lonely and you just want to cuddle. And they're like, maybe it wasn't that bad.
I wasn't a bad person actually then. I must have been.
Yeah, or they weren't so bad. But then actually, if you were confident in yourself to be like, no, this is the journey I've got to go on. This is all part of the process. Maybe that it's that. Again, I don't know if this is the right thing. It's just completely off the cuff here, but that to me makes a little bit of sense. It's like, because I know in myself when I've made good, strong decisions and I'm fully like owned, like no, not even owned it. It's just a case of like I'm very consciously aware of what I've done and for the reasons of doing it, and I've stayed strong and true to that.
Yes.
You're good, but then if you've broken up with someone, then you haven't gone through necessarily this journey. You'll then, all the doubt will come in. And if you don't have the ability to maybe control that doubt, which again, doubt's going to come in. Like if you make a big decision, there's going to be some doubt. It's like with anything. Like you buy a new MacBook. I've already had a MacBook. When I bought this new one, I didn't take it out of the box for 2 weeks. I bought it, dropped, again, new MacBook, couple of grand, didn't take it out of the box for 2 weeks. How weird is that? I bought it, but in my head I was a bit like, so again, I think doubt is normal, and I think it's good with that. But I think then the problem is, again, when we ask ourselves, it's the questions we ask ourselves, isn't it? So if we're doubting ourselves, were they that bad? Or
I think that's we get people to do gratitude journals all the time, but also facing a feeling that we're going through like this. It might be good to get a pen and paper out and just start writing all the reasons of why you don't want to be that self anymore and what actually was true in that time, because your brain can really play tricks on you and you can follow that journey.
Absolutely. This is actually a good thing about keeping a diary.
Yeah.
So if you're keeping a journal anyway, like an actual journal, you can look
that
back and be like, well, actually, what
time.
happened? Or if you know because that's something that I've done. So when I was going through this change recently, I went back and looked through my diary.
Who was I at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. And like all this stuff, especially when it came to mental health summit. I remember the day that I actually thought about doing that. So I went back and looked at my journal, and then I basically journaled what I thought about that. And I was just like, so before I made the decision to cancel it, I've read back through that. And I was like, is this the right call? And after I read through that, I went, yeah, this is, because I can't live up to this expectation I set myself. But I think also if you know you're going for a big thing, like maybe a breakup or a big hard change that you know is going to be hard, but the reasons are there. For example, let's say it is a relationship. In that moment, you write down the reasons why you're leaving, but you write a letter to your future self. Dear Daniel, you are leaving this relationship because X, Y, and Z. Please don't forget that they do this, they do that, they make you feel like this. This isn't a knee-jerk reaction like you may convince yourself it is. Like this is really documented, so you've got it there. So then if you are then thinking like, oh, maybe they weren't so bad, you just open that letter and you're like, yeah, actually, I remember that. That's actually, yeah, okay, I get that. Makes sense.
Then it's quite interesting because you've got change that you've put yourself in. But in your situation, I don't know how far you want to go for it, but do you know when you've been pushed through change, something way outside of your controls happened, is that harder to face? So
it's interesting. So, first, the word, was I pushed? So I wasn't really pushed. I decided to jump.
Yes, yeah.
So I wasn't pushed. I decided to jump because that was the better option than...
Yeah, it was your decision in
that it was my decision in that moment because...
I suppose another option might be somebody going through grief.
No, but it's a really good point though, because it's like, because that's still, it was kind of the decision the situation I was put into, there was never going to be another outcome. Yes. So I wasn't pushed, but I was backed into a corner, and it was either a case of into the fire or jump off into the sea. So jump off. I decided to jump off rather than... because I said the situation was...
I'm too hot for that fire.
Yeah. But like I said, it's like, I don't... When people's values and morals and when lies have been involved in it, let's just say with that. Yeah, let's just say that. When I've been lied to on 3 occasions and certain situations don't line up with myself, myself, my morals, my values, and my company's morals and values, I'm then jumping off. I'm jumping ship. Yeah. Simple as that. Just leave that there. As in, I'm not going into more detail about that. However, following on from that, to ask your question, that is then the hardest thing. Yeah. Because then it literally is a case of you're put in that position, but you have to act quickly. Yeah. So that's what I found with this is, and again, I actually put a really heartfelt message to my coaches actually yesterday because I was reflecting on it. So in that situation then, I had to shift really, really quickly. And again, same with anything. Like if something's happened, you have to shift. Yeah. Because I think the biggest thing is the denial. Because if you deny what's going on, the truth is the truth, whether you like it or not. Like you've made a decision or something's happened, this is what it is.
And trying to deploy the same game plan as what you've had before.
Exactly.
When it's a brand new situation.
Absolutely. It's just like, well, we keep doing this. No, it's complete change. So just accept that this thing now isn't what it is. Yeah. Okay, cool. Like that's gone. Like you can cry about it, you can moan about it. Again, it's not fair. It's not fair. The situation was horrific. Like the other people involved did not cover themselves in glory at all. Nothing I can do about that. So I had to, cool, let's shift our focus. What do I need to do now? And then once you can do that, it makes it easier. It's the same with all the lockdowns. The people that did the best were the people that, I can't do this right now. Let's shift. Let's do this. For example, brick and mortar building, closed down. Right, what can we do? Right, take it online. Bam, we go. Other people are just like, I'm just going to not do anything. Like my brick and mortar building will be back up and running soon. 4 months later, it's not. 6 months later. And then some people had to close. And again, same with restaurants. How many restaurants do you know that actually were like, we're closed, what are we going to do? But then how many other restaurants do you know that actually opened up mobile vans? Yeah. Mobile vans have started doing mobile stuff. Again, it's a complete shift of things. Like, you understand, like in that situation. Absolutely. So
innovative thinking.
You can't change, just accept this is what's happened. Yeah. Whether right or wrong, it doesn't matter. Right. Now we've got to change. We've got to shift. Again, there's a book by Maxwell called Leader Shift. I don't know if I've mentioned this in the podcast before. I think for some reason I have. Leader Shift. It talks about shifting. As a leader, you have to be able to shift. So that's basically what I did. So after that situation happened, right, this is what's happening. Right, quick sit down. What am I going to do? Right, cool, put a plan of action together because again, I had a business plan as in I knew where I was going with my business. I had a 10-year goal. Right, can we sort of incorporate that now? Yep, cool. Right, are my coaches okay? No, right, let's sort them out. Right, my coaches are okay. So my business is now okay. It's on track. My coaches are okay. Okay, now on track. Right, I'm now not okay. I've got to do something about that. And that's where I then went off the metaphorical cliff. So then had basically suppressed for so long. If I didn't have my coaches, if I didn't have a business, I'd have dealt with that then and there, or started the process of the grieving process again with Janet. Again, fantastic thing. I didn't realise I was grieving. I was not allowing myself to grieve.
Yeah.
So as soon as I allowed that to happen, weight lifted off my shoulders. Does that make sense? I hope making sense of all this. Yeah. So this is the thing. Like I just had to make sure that again, from the business, I have to make sure everyone else is okay, because that's my role as a leader. Again, what's that thing by Simon Sinek? Eat as eat last. So I had to make sure that everyone else is okay. Yeah. It's not about me; it's about them. That's what I did. Cool. Is a plan of action? Yes. This is what we're doing. So this is part of it. This is phase one. This new office. Yeah. This is phase one. This is a temporary headquarters. And you've seen how sick it is. Yeah. And what I'm going to do with this. And this is the temporary. So this is temporary. Wait till the actual thing is about. And that's the thing that people don't seem to realise. This is just the beginning.
Mate, and the great thing is that you didn't worry too. You just acted and channeled in the way of, right, action needs to be taken. Because I love that saying, worrying is like being on a rocking horse. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere. Yep. And it's so true. You could have spent so long working it all out, getting in your head, getting inside yourself, panicked, and then your energy's all gone, you're knackered, and you're never going to sort of make decisions from that, or rational or good decisions. But at that point, you're like, right, this has happened. This is the steps from it. And it's all conscious all the way through the process. You're looking at every step of the way. Where are we at now? Okay, phase one done, complete, action, taking.
And it's funny you say this as well, because I actually had a walk. I think the person who listens to the podcast, I actually had a walk with someone who's an old client of mine. And she came to have a walk with me. And her basically, again, she spoke to me. And I said this to her afterwards. I said, I had such respect because she spoke to me how no one has ever spoke to me. Because she almost gave me a, what's the word?
Epiphany?
No, it was not an epiphany. She challenged me.
Oh, a healthy challenge.
Yeah. Very, very heavily challenged me to the point where it kind of got my back up a bit, but it's from a complete place of love. Yeah, because this person was just like, I don't know if what you're doing is the right decision. So I was just like, okay. And then we had a literally really long walk, and it was fantastic. Yeah. I then explained, because she said, because all she saw was the outside. This has happened, and now Dan's doing this. Well, that's a bit weird, a bit rushed. There's a lot of things, like building this, for example, a bit rushed. Yeah. And then once I explained to her, no, there was always a plan. There was always a plan. And once it's happened, I shifted very, very quickly. I took my big plan and basically narrowed it down. Right, how can I get this big 10-year plan into 6 months, into 8 months, into 12 months? How can I do this? And then I explained it to her and said, this is, and she went, wow, that's all I needed to hear. And again, it came from a place of such love. Yeah. And honestly, genuinely, when I came back and reflected on it, and was nearly in tears that someone had actually, first of all, challenged me,
cared enough,
and I love it.
Take you down that road.
I don't have yes people in my life at all, but if someone actually doesn't know me, they know me well, but not on that level, to challenge me like that, it was brilliant. It was, honestly, it gets emotional thinking about that. Like, that is someone that actually genuinely cares. Yeah. And I just want to make sure that you're in a mentally good place to be making these decisions. And I explained to her, like, I'm not in a good place mentally. However, when I was making these decisions, I was
clear-minded.
Absolutely, because I was holding it all together. Now I'm not in a good place, but the decisions were made before that. Does that make sense?
I feel for you, though, towards business, I've got a lot of trust in you, because you trust yourself so much. You've been on such a journey. You know how to operate within it, that it doesn't matter what decision you make, as soon as shit hits the fan or something goes wrong in a way, you know there's always an option. There's always another way. And that's why it doesn't matter what, as long as you're moving, you're going to keep getting to places because you've always got an answer.
Because I know where I'm going.
You know, exactly.
I literally know where I'm going. I had a conversation, and this is literally the conversation I had with this person. She was just like, I don't understand how certain people are so heavily invested in you. And I used the example of you. I said, well, Mikey was heavily invested in me. Yeah. Like, literally when we first met, you were like, wherever you're going, I think the exact words were, wherever you're going, just take me with you. This is what you said. You were like, mate, wherever you're going on this journey, take me with you. Yeah. Like, that was complete trust. I literally told you my vision, and you were like, I'm fully in. Yeah. With me, man. But again, that for me says it all. And I said, there's so many people like that. And she was saying, yeah, there's loads of people like that out there. I said, no. People say that. Actions speak louder than words. Yeah. So when, I'll say it, when shit hits the fan, who actually has my back to take actionable steps. Now, this person, particularly on the walk, they did. They have literally backed up their actions, and I know full well this is why they come from such a place of love.
Yeah.
And, honestly, absolutely brilliant. And again, if you're listening, you know exactly who you are, and it's one of the best. Again, if you listen on video, see I'm getting emotional. Honestly, absolutely incredible. Breathe. Not crying on podcast. Like but my point with saying that is that a lot of people say they'll do things when it comes to actually actioning that they don't. So you backed it up. You're like, whatever you need. And literally, I think I then called you up, like literally 2 days later. Listen, I've got this video thing that he's doing for Nationwide. Can you do it? Yeah, I'll be there. And you were literally there. I was like, I can't pay for it. Bam, you're there, done. Like, and again, along this journey with stuff that's happened, people have actually then backed up what they've said. Cool. That's the thing for me is like, and that's people don't see that from the outside. All they see is this stuff here. But it's like I know where I'm going, so people see that. And the reason I trust myself and back myself is because I kind of trust the universe. Is as long as I'm acting congruently with myself and I'm being authentic and genuine, doors will open for me. And
it's the greatest rap saying of all time, but real recognize real.
Yeah,
it will always be the case. So I saw exactly. It was from the IGTV you were doing. But that moment on how you handled adversity as well and still keeping your cool, I was like, that man knows what he's doing, what his mission is, where he's at. And that fit to me. What we're talking about with change though as well, it is interesting because I thought, is it harder to be propelled and pushed into change? But actually, it's somewhat harder when you've chosen change because for me, I chose to not be going out anymore, being in the music scene and becoming a dad. We had that conscious conversation, me and my partner. And then when life starts to happen, you become mature, responsible adult, you can, again, glorify them back in them days. But there's a reason I chose to go down that path. But because my brain's chosen to glorify the old days, I can be in a bit of a rut then. I can be in a really uncomfortable position because I'm like, yeah, but don't forget when you did da-da-da-da-da-da. And you stop appreciating and having gratitude for everything you have around you. So you beat yourself up for that situation.
I think that's what it is. It's like when someone else has done something to you, you can blame. You can play the victim. Yeah. It's very hard to play the victim when you've done it to yourself. Yeah. Because you chose this. Like if you say to someone, I'm feeling really bad. Yeah, but you chose to do this. So you chose to break up a relationship and you're feeling really bad about it. Yeah, but you chose this. Yeah. Whereas if someone breaks up with you, it's like, oh, Mikey. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's really easy to get that in the end. You can lap that up. Yeah. When you've made the decision, because again, change is so hard. Again, it's very then easy to be like, damn, and you just then again the negative self-talk kicks in because again everyone has that thing of doubt, that voice inside your head. You'll be asking yourself the question, like, have I made the right call? Yeah. And then you'll be like, well, remember this time in primary school when you did this and it was the wrong decision, and then you start to doubt yourself, and like you said there, that's what then perpetuates it.
And I've had a long life of wanting to fit into some form of scene or have a tribe in some form of way because I've been a very butterflied person and never ever fit in, and a lot of bullying. So therefore, when I had a scene and you think they're the real ones, but they didn't actually stick with you throughout, it wasn't that real, was it? Truthfully. But I know deep down the decisions I've taken and the path I've walked down of the mental health, of being with real people like yourself and a smattering of others that I can imagine, it's more authentic, it's more real, it's more lasting down here. But putting on an event and thinking I'm my old self and expecting hundreds to turn up, that's where why does nobody want to be around anymore? Why is it? And you have all these constant conversations. I think a bit of advice I've got for people going through anything like this is what we've said. Really remember why you took that path. Be at ease with that. Be at peace with that. And remember, you've took it. So live it. You don't get caught up in your thoughts, because they will, as you say, go on infinite spirals forevermore. But you have to appreciate where you're at and live it out. And then if you truly want to look back at that path, you don't have to see it as a door closed and completely gone forever. You can have a step foot in the old self and see what it's all about. But really understand where you're at is for a reason, and you sent yourself down there.
again, kind of that wraps it up nicely. It's fair. Even we're only 23 minutes, but kind of like there, like a bit of advice. Like, I was going to finish this. Like, what advice would you give? So that's fantastic. My advice would be, I think I said this in another podcast. I was just so confused with where I say things, whether it's on the radio, whether it's talking with clients, whether it's talking on clients or podcasts. I always get confused. So I feel like I just repeat myself. Like, I bet in my head I'm like, oh, I said it on the radio or I said it to a client, but I didn't. I bet all my podcasts are just exactly the same. So that's why I listen back to them all. So I'm not making sure I'm not repeating myself. Is that fear? Action destroys fear.
Yeah.
So when you are starting to change, you're going to be afraid.
It's that just do it.
Just do it. You just have to take a step. Yeah. Just a small step. Just a small step. That's all you've got to do. Small steps, because that action will destroy that fear. It's like when you're about to jump off a plane. Like that, there's going to be I've never done it, but the amount of fear, how do you overcome that fear? Just take that one step and you're off the plane. And then you then can't have the fear because you're then doing it. Yeah. So with all this sort of stuff, like whatever action steps you need to take, just take the action steps. Whatever you're trying to do, just take the steps.
That was like us earlier. Having a conversation is a step, isn't it?
Yeah.
You were saying, well, what happened for that event to not work for you in the way you wished it to, and for it to pay itself? And I was like, well, what we're going to do next is do it as gatherings, because we do feel we had about 50 or 60 people, like facilitators, that were going to be coming. It was just the upkeep that we couldn't afford. Of people getting down, but having gatherings and knowing amazing people and building think tanks, that can be an option around it. So you've done that step with me today, and for yourself, look where we're sitting. It's just constantly stepping and moving forward and believing the change is for a reason. It's going to create another part of yourself.
Like I said in the last episode, life happens for us, not to us.
I love it.
Quote unquote, Tim Robbins.
Yeah.
Well, like, just
I bet you got it from someone.
Yeah, probably did. Yeah, but like I said, Tony Robbins is the long one. I've just narrowed it down to that.
He'd seen a meme.
Yeah, but no, I think it's a really powerful place to stop, actually. And again, anyone that's going through change, like I said, it is uncomfortable. And like I said, you've kind of got a bit more of an idea of kind of, again, really small thing of what I've been going through recently. But I said, change is hard for everybody, no matter who you are, where you're at in life. Like, it is uncomfortable, but all you have to do is back yourself and know, like I said, that life genuinely is happening for you. Like, again, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, please go listen back to that about the law of growth, because you'll see that the change that happens, whether you've consciously chose to do it or something has happened to you, it hasn't happened to you, it's happened for you. And if you can quickly change that, then again, like we said there, with the stuff that happened with me, like that happened for me. Like, yes, I chose to jump and that happened for me. Like, that situation, that whole thing, I genuinely believe has happened for me. And again, it's been absolutely incredible.
And just to utter something else is, have routine in your life, have structure in your life, but put yourself in uncomfortable territories when you can, and do make change happen in really small ways. So then when big change does happen, or some change that you're uncomfortable in, you're very used to change. So even if that's a different class, or going to a spin class or a boxing class that you never would really go to, you've got elements of change in your life, so you're prepared for that to come into
compounding effect. No, that's a good bit of advice there. Where can people find out more about you?
Mikey Markham, it's Rhythmical Mike and the Old Farm Bus.
Yeah, we always joke when on the radio. Aaron, the presenter, always laughs that you've got about 1 million Instagrams. So, so just keep it at 2. Just keep it at 2. And again, don't forget to give me a follow on Instagram as well, Daniel_James_fitness. I hope you're taking some value from today's episode. If you have, please don't forget to like and share it with a friend. Help us to spread the word to help as many people as possible. Love you guys. Take care.